So whilst we're on the theme of botany, let's just have a look, and wild foods, let's just say wild foods, because in this 100-meter stretch or less, there's a lot of things we can eat. Now down here we've got what I'm pretty sure is wild garlic, only it's not the classic depiction of wild garlic, because we always see it depicted in flour, and if it is wild garlic, well, it will taste like onion. And so not that much, not the same as I'm used to tasting, but of course when I'm consuming it, it's always in flour, and so it's more succulent and tasty. But that might not be wild garlic, might be an imposter. Good job I didn't eat any of it. Next up is we've got wild cherry, and these are a tasty little morsel, and they are very pervasive around this region, so there's all those to look forward to. Then there's the hawthorn, and when these berries come into fruition, these red berries, you can actually eat those, you know, and they taste like avocado. So that's the food source, that's the food source. The wild garlic, possible, maybe a food source. And then we go a little bit down here, we'll come upon dog rose. This is dog rose, or otherwise known as rose sip. So there's all of those to be munching on. Then up above, I'll show you down here, it's a bit clearer. We have cherry plum. We've got cherry plum. Well, this is the cherry plum. And so this offers us a lot of fruit, and you've seen me in other videos, some of you, harvesting that. It has a right horde of cherry plums, and so down there then, yeah, we had several edibles. And what have we got up here? Do we have anything else which is noticeable? Now then, look at what we've got here already. We've got cherries already, people. Can you see these? These are fucking different variety of cherry, but they're all ready. You look at the size of those. There might even be plums. They might even be plums. Maybe some of you will know from the leaves. But you know, if we keep them peeled, then there's a lot of food around. Hello, my little beauties. Oh yeah, gonna keep my eye out for you. So it looks like it's a bumpy year for you guys. Now, what else have we got? This here, look what we've got here. This looks like it might be a damson tree. Look at those. There's a lot of fruit there, isn't there? Huh? Can any of you identify these? What are they? Could even be lemon, you know. I've never noticed lemon here, but no, it's a cherry tree. You can see from the bark it's a cherry tree. So there are a variety of cherry. But I've never noticed any cherries with that nipple on the end. Have you guys? Look at those nipples, very pronounced nipple. Huh. But I would think that certainly it's a wild cherry tree from the bark there. Okay. What else do we have? Oh, we've already got the horse chestnuts coming about. Look at them little guys. Oh, that one just fell off my hand. Yeah. Now, these, you cannot eat them under any conditions. Even squirrels only have a very low tolerance for them. They'll only eat a very small amount in any given day because there's got certain toxins which build up and spoil their day. I'm wondering if any of you guys know what this plant is. Well, these white bell type flowers, because this is another plant that I've found to be so pervasive. It's everywhere in my garden, and now of course I'm noticing it everywhere I go. What are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? Sleeping, little guy? Huh? Looking a little bit lethargic today, mate. I guess you're still trying to warm up. Okay, now holly berries. I seem to remember that you can actually eat holly berries. Can anybody confirm that? And it's one of those things. You see, look, birds love holly berries, so they've got to be edible to some degree. It's not like they're poisonous and they're going to kill life. No, if animals can eat these things, then you know, they're not that poisonous. It's like acorns. Look, we can eat acorns, but if we're going to be eating them, we need to prepare them, and you prepare them over a long period of time. You have to dry them out, and then you have to deshell them, and then you have to soak them in water for 2 weeks at a time to get the tannins out. Then you drain the tannins and you put them in fresh water again for another 2 weeks, and then you dry them out again, and then you grind them down, and then they're edible because the bitterness of the tannins has been diminished. But that was a staple diet for people in the northern hemisphere in the old days. Now, what else do we have? So it was only, let's say, a week ago when this was all in bloom, these beautiful, gorgeous flowers. But now you can see that very, very quickly those conkers are manifesting. And so going to keep my eye open for all that stuff. What else do we have? Anything else? Got any berries coming anywhere? Can't see any. Yeah, that looks like a cherry. Let me see. Yeah, that's a cherry. So that's going to have fruit, maybe, somewhere. But you know, lime trees, you can eat lime leaves, you know, and of course you can eat lime flowers. You can make tea out of them, you can make wine out of them. And then when we look around the ground, we look at dandelions. You can eat the whole of the dandelion plant, the flower, the root, the leaves. And so in that short little walkway, look, these here, right? You can eat those. They're a little bit bitter, but kind of pleasant at the same time. You know, foraging. And you see, I'm often wondering what my little boy's eating and his mates. But I see them nibbling on all different sorts of stuff, like petals from varying rose bushes, all different sorts of buds from trees. They'll eat all those in their young stages. They'll eat all the flowers off trees. of course they'll eat grass, and I've wondered about grass. I mean, because animals that eat only grass, then they have to have a second stomach for digesting the cellulose. But apparently we can't digest grass, and you know, people try to eat grass when they've been lost in the wild, and they've died because they haven't been able to break it down at all. They can't break down the cellulose. But I'm wondering, do squirrels get nutrition from grass? You see here, right here, the wild garlic. Now, looking at it, it looks quite a bit different on that I was sampling before. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these leaves and see what the difference is. This is wild garlic. That other one wasn't. Now, you can see that this plant is very varied in the size of the leaves. And apparently they're more favourable when they are young, like this. Now, if you ain't got no onions, then a batch of those in a soup, just warm through, not cooked. I don't know how much benefit there'll be for really cooking them. I think you just need to warm them through to get them to go limp. Then you still have that strong taste, and I think that would have been pretty sought after in a, you know, a very weak broth in the old days with whatever people have got, whatever vegetables or small animals they've got. Bang some of that in this time of year. Yeah. Okay. Gonna so you see that by the time they're flowered, they go all like this. They go all wiry, stringy. I wonder why they go like that. I wonder what's the purpose of that. What are these going to manifest into? I don't know. Aha! Stinging nettles. We can eat the whole plant. Exceedingly high in nutrition, and make a great soup. Some of you will remember last summer I was harvesting stinging nettles and making stinging nettle, onion and potato soup. Then when you've made the soup to whatever consistency you want, you throw in a handful of sweet corn or herbs, whatever you fancy. And I've still got frozen stinging nettles in my fridge, and so I ate a bowl of stinging nettle soup about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so now I think, well, I'll get that out of the freezer. Now I've reminded myself that I've got it, and so I'll make that up and I'll show you that in one of my cooking bloke videos. Let's see what else we can find. Now, over on that side of the road, you've got lots of dog rows. So we're going to be having lots of rosette, and going to see, is that them already? Is that them coming out? Or is that the bud for the flower? I'm just trying to discern to see if this is an elm tree, because when you feel an elm tree leaf, it's very, very rough, particularly on the underside, rougher than any other leaf you would find. Here we have a lime, and this is a large leaf lime, and you can eat these. Now, feeling this one, it's smooth on top and bottom. Feeling this one, it's rough, and it feels dry. It feels dry and abrasive, so I would think that's an elm. Yeah, look at the shape of the leaves. Although I think that was certainly elm. But no, I couldn't be certain. I couldn't be certain. But feeling it, it gives me a high indication that it is. But I'm certain that this is a large leaf lime. And so, snails, I suppose, they all have to be edible. And there's a load of those around the woods. And so that's something that people wouldn't really consider as a food source. But by the time you've sent your kids out foraging for lots of different stuff, and of course, snails are, in their psyche, and they're going to be gathering, maybe a dozen of those up now and again. These are all going to go in the pot, people. Looks like the beginning of the flowers and the blossoms, which I'm going to be harvesting this year again because they're very tasty. Okay, onwards and upwards. So we've got a lot of dandelion down here. We can have a right good feed on that. Oh, okay, elderberry. So we can have a right good harvest of elderberry when that matures. But don't be eating them raw, people, because if you eat them raw, like I did when I was harvesting them, I was eating, 5 or 6 at a time. Pretty pleasant, not too bad. And I think probably I may eat 20. Well, within an hour, I was defecating and vomiting almost simultaneously because they're very heavily laden with cyanide in the seeds. But to nullify the cyanide, you have to cook them. So once you cook them, then you can make all different sorts of jams and whatever you want out of them. Blackberries over here, does it look like blackberries? All these blackberries. Yeah, blackberries, so stinging nettles and blackberries. More elderberries. And so, we're doing all right, aren't we, people? We're not going hungry. Well, we're not going to starve, put it that way. You can eat enough of this stuff to sustain you. You're not going to starve. Now, down this walkway, I don't remember too much that's edible. There's quite a lot of black berries, like laurel berries. And some of these blackberries, I seem to recall that you can eat, and some of them that you don't want to be eating. And I've always been meaning to buy one particular book, which is about all the berries that you can find on the British Isles by some dude, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm going to get that book. Because, I like to try all different sorts of things, and, these lime leaves. very reasonable. In actual fact, it's not bitter like lettuce. And if you're going to make a salad, well, they're perfectly palatable. They're not tough. You know, when you read these books, they say, oh, you know, pick the young ones, and like pick the young leaves on the stinging nettle. And I'm like, what the fuck? You're going to boil it anyway. And even when you've boiled them all up, you liquidize them, and so what does it matter whether they're old or young? The whole plant, even including the stalk. But if you don't get the whole plant when it's young, then okay, don't eat the stalk, but just take off all the leaves. Because, you know, if you're just picking the top ones, then you've got to do a lot of work to get the bulk, people. But if you come to a patch of stinging nettles, you know, you grab the stalk with rubber gloves on and you just rip off all the leaves. So here we've got laurel of a variety, and I think somewhere on my walkway, a bit closer to home, there's a cherry laurel, which has these long stalks of flowers. They're about 6 or 8 inches long, and they're conical shape, tapering off, and they have about 50 flowers, hence 50 berries on them, and they're a remarkable looking plant. And so here we have a Norway maple. You can tell it's a Norway maple because it's got these jagged leaves, very spiky like that, as opposed to the regular maple. And you know, the Norway maple, the sycamore is a maple also. This is a sycamore, and the sycamore is also a maple tree. And you see, we look at this sycamore leaf, and then we compare it to more sycamore. Let me just go back up there. This is where they are. So that one there. So, and you can tell that you know, these are maple for lots of reasons. But let me just take that one now. You see that purple stalk? And then when we look down here, we get exactly the same purple stalk. You see? Did you know about that? Now we've put them on the ground. We've got the Norway maple, and then we've got the sycamore maple family. And so, same stalks, same length, similar sort of variety of leaf, only a different propensity. With the sycamore is more rounded, where the Norway is more spiky. Okay. Are we having fun with Uncle Aaron on his nature walks? It's not all about Jesus, is it? Can't all be about Jesus, our Saviour, our Lord. No, it's not all about Jesus. And so, what else have we got? What else have we got? Hey, what you got? What you got? It's me. It's me, you know me. You know me, right? Huh. You know me. Of course they know me. Trees know you, people. And one day you're going to hear somebody who you deeply respect say that to you. Maybe Kanye West has got to say it to you. Or maybe Terence Howard's got to say it to you. Or maybe one of the Kardashians has got to say it to you before you'll believe it. But I'm telling you now, trees know you. And they are sentient, conscious. They have a spirit that communicates with you. And of course, many plants communicate with us. Many plants want to live vicariously through us. They want to prolong our lives. And some, they're a little bit more nefarious. And they want to kill you. And so, it's the whole concept of good and evil, isn't it? Good and evil, good and evil. Fortunately, we live in a time where humanity has pretty well discovered most of what's going to inadvertently kill you if you should stumble upon it, if it's a creature, or eat it if it's a plant. And even with certain animals, there's certain parts of them which are poisonous, and so you don't want to be eating them. Now, I only started looking into all this wild foraging remotely seriously last year, but you can very quickly gather up quite a lot of information, and when you do that, this is a lime. You can see they always have these lopsided leaves like that. And here we have the classic lime flowers coming. And so, within, I would think, 10 days, lots of lime trees will be flowering. Over here, the elderberries, I harvested a load from here last year. And because I was violently sick on them, I never actually made anything. I harvested like several mason jars, and I was going to, make some sort of punch out of them, or just, drink half a glass a day just for the vitamin C and this and the other. And but I never got around to it. Now, here, this is a walnut tree, and this is where I harvested most of my walnuts last year. Now, this tree gives a right good harvest, and if we want to discern what a walnut tree is, then we have to take lots of things in consideration. Like you take consideration of the buds and the twigs, how they split off, and the branches and the leaves. And these are compound leaf, you see, which means that they have, several on one stalk rather than just one, like you've just seen with the maples. And then the trunk looks like this. So, and down in this graveyard there are lots of mushrooms, but 90% of the ones I've found are yellow staining mushrooms, which are non-edible. So we can see here the sycamore displaying the seeds. Oh, me, oh, my. What we got here? Cherry. Looks like it's going to be a good year for cherries. Starting very auspiciously. Look at the size of those already. Look at those big beautiful bunches. Hey? Aren't they great? Sycamore, people, sycamore. So these roots that I have, I do them once a week, maybe more sometimes. And so I keep a deep familiarity with the world about me. And I see how these plants, bushes and trees do their thing. Now here we can see how the flowers hang down, The flowers have gone now, but that was a grouping of where the flowers were, and now the seeds are there. And if I can find a tree still in flower, then that would be nice. That one's a bit closer. So we've got oak here, English oak or Cecil oak, and when this has acorns then we can harvest those. So thank you very much, oak tree. But I've never noticed these trees giving any fruit, and so maybe I've just, you know, maybe they've been skipping a few years. Maybe this is the year that it's going to be a bumpy year. And if we look closely now, we can see, let me turn the camera around, we can see something happening, can't we? Are you going to be bearing lots of fruit? Look at these little dudes. Now, there's a lot of squirrels in this graveyard, and that's for a very good reason. And so I'm going to be in great competition if I want to harvest those acorns, because they're doing it 24 hours a day. They are literally making hay while the sun shines. And here we have another variety of oak, you see, because look, on this one we have the acorns growing straight off the branches, whereas other, I think it's called the pedunculate oak, where they have what's called like a pedunculate. It's a stalk, and they grow on the end of the stalk, a pedunculate oak. And then they have another variety. Well, there's about 13 varieties of oak in the British Isles, apparently. We've got all different sorts of English oak, American oak. And did you know that the cork tree is an oak? The corks don't grow in this country, it's not warm enough. But yeah, it looks like we're going to have quite a bit to choose from this year, and so looking forward to keeping my eyes on those. Hemlock, 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 hemlock. And now around here we get certain varieties of fungi. Some edible, most not. And so I think that's about it, guys and girls, for the little nature adventure. You see, look, what life is, it's about being present all the time. You know that. I've told you, I've encouraged you, I've brought awareness to you, you know, in all my videos about being present and looking around. But how many of us are just too distracted? We don't have the time. We don't have the time, we've never took the time, and so these things haven't entered our paradigm. We wouldn't know one leaf or one tree from another. We would have no idea, most people. But it's a wonderful thing when you have a familiarity with the world about you, because what does it do? It connects you to it. You become one with it rather than detached, rather than something just walking upon it or through it. You walk with it, and you are acquainted with it every step of the way, and it's a beautiful thing. So I doubtless had many lives where I was you know, very close to the land, because there's still a remnant of that in my spirit now, or at least one of my spirits. And so to keep this level of contact is of vital importance to me, and it's very pleasant and enjoyable. But like I say, if you are not for everlasting jumping in your car, if there's a shop 5 minutes around the corner and you jump in the car, come on people, you gotta stop doing that shit. You've just gotta take your time. This walk, you know, at a regular pace, it takes 25 minutes. So, you know, I've got best part of an hour, at least once a week, just by going to the supermarket and keeping my eyes peeled. But then, of course, I go to the gym most every day, and so I'm doing it in another realm with all different sorts of foodstuffs and fungi and everything. I'll do a video about that next time I go to the gym. It might even be today. But just before I end this video, this is this cherry laurel that I wanted to show you. It's a beautiful plant, and I started with my first video with the photo of me like this, and you can see that these flowering displays are going to be very beautiful, and you look at the bees already enjoying them, and that's how they're going to be. And then when you've got the vibrancy of the young leaves in contrast to the mature leaves, and in the fall when the berries mature and they are about this big, glossy, round and black, and they are absolutely gorgeous, and they are a delight for birds, hence bird cherry. And it's just really, really nice to have the time to look at what Mother Nature, what the cosmos is providing us. It's this beautiful thing, isn't it? That it just keeps turning inside out of itself, you know, in the cycle of life, producing all these fruits and animals and everything, and we all feed on each other. Isn't that bizarre? Some people say about, oh, how can there be a God when a God creates all these wicked creatures that eat other animals in such a you know, a savage way? Well, I don't know, you know, whether you could really argue with that, because what the world does, it provides foods in a whole myriad of ways. And it provides a whole myriad of foods. When we look at animals like lions, for instance, well, they're only going to be eating one thing, and that's meat. And so when you have, you know, teams and teams and herds of marauding wildebeest and, you know, all different sorts of grazing animals like that, well, it's just the earth doing what the earth does. And you know, lots of them fall foul to being torn to pieces. But you see what I've noticed watching these nature programs? As soon as you see a lion grab hold of the throat of one of these animals, invariably it doesn't struggle. It resigns itself. And I think there's some sort of a chemical which is released into its brain which prevents it from feeling fear, prevents it from feeling pain. It's like a sedative. It's like being anaesthetised. I think they are actually doing that, because I've seen so many animals that when they're being consumed or being killed, there is a level of resignation. And if you look at animals being eaten by anacondas, for instance, and you can have rats or bats or, you know, any of them sort of animals, and you see these animals and they're just looking around like this, you know, as they're going further and further in the mouth. And, well, it's difficult to discern terror from a bat or, you know, a rat or something like that. But I think nature has this way, just like it has with human beings, people. when the human being is on the point of death, we leave the body, don't we? We've all heard of that. And when we look around at old people, they become senile. They're not here anymore. They're not consciously sentient. And like my daughter's saying about her grandmother, you know, sometimes she's a little bit compos mentis and it's like her grandmother, but most of the time she's in la la land. Doesn't know what she's doing, what she's saying, what she's thinking, anything like that. And so this is a wonderful thing that nature gives us. And I'm sure it does this across the board with all living creatures. You know, and another thing is, when we look at birds, like small birds that have been damaged by a car, and they're at the side of the road and they can't fly anymore, maybe the wing's broken or something like that, the bird itself could survive. But you'll notice, and I don't know if many of you have been, you know, out and about in nature all your lives, then you would have come upon a bird that's been hit by a car and you would have had it die in your hand. And there's nothing wrong with the bird. It's not got no internal bleeding or anything like that. Probably, at least on some occasions. Of course, we can't be sure. But the bird seems to be strong in your hand and, you know, one wing's trying to get away, but the other one is just limp. But within a few seconds, that bird will just die. Because there is a cut-off mechanism within the brain of the bird which tells the bird, well, there's no point in you being alive anymore because your life as a bird is over. And by prolonging the suffering now is only going to be cruel because you're going to be eaten by something, or you're going to lie there and you're going to die of starvation or the cold or something like that. So there's something in the brain which turns life off. And I think we should have more studies about this. I've never heard anybody speak about it. It's just my personal observation. And then when I see a gazelle or the lion's got its throat, I'm pretty sure it's been anaesthetised. And I know for sure 99% of these old fuckers in my building, they're anaesthetised. Trust me. Oh my God.